So students that are thinking of coming to the UK, I think, are sort of well informed about, the quality of the institutions and why they have that reputation, particularly from a teaching and research perspective. And while certainly the short-term situation remains a bit unusual, I think the top institutions here in the UK have something very competitive to offer, both from a program delivery and student experience perspective, but also from the career outcomes they're able to support candidates on. So, there's lots of great study destinations out there. Certainly, it's a time of political change in the US, which has historically been a very popular destination for international students. But you also have some very competitive schools that are doing well in the rankings in the East and East Asia and Southeast Asia as well. So it's an interesting time. I think if I was an applicant looking at going to schools, I would have a lot of opportunity to decide, what is it I want to get from an academic quality perspective? What is the broader student institutions wanting to offer? What can I do off campus? What's great about the location? London is different from New York, and it's different from Singapore, and it's different from Shanghai. So what is that broader experience you want to have? But certainly I think the UK has historically also been a pretty interesting destination and relatively popular destination for top students who are quite ambitious on the career front. And because of the graduate worker route, the UK government continues to welcome international students and create an opportunity for them to stay on and work after graduation.
Well, at the moment, really, the main concerns fall into two key categories. For students coming to the UK later this year, they're thinking really about what happens around COVID and what are the implications for Brexit. This is what candidates are asking us about when they apply and when we interview them. So we are addressing these two questions directly with candidates.
In terms of the biggest challenges our students faced in 2020, I think it's safe to say, and it's no surprise, that COVID was the biggest issue by far. And that very much centered around, whether classes were going to be online, whether they were going to be face-to-face, etc. What business schools have had to do and how they've had to adapt in 2020 was pretty phenomenal. But it was also very tough because you've got business schools such as Manchester who are making decisions in their students' best interest for the student experience, etc. But also often in 2020 and going into 2021, those decisions are taken away from business schools because governments in respective countries are having to make very tough decisions that then impact the business schools and its students.
Obviously, we have to be talking about facts and what we do know about. So for Brexit, all students from outside the UK coming to study in the UK will now be required to obtain a visa. This is no difference for international students or students coming from outside of the European Union. We used to call them international students, but those from outside the EU, there'll be no difference. They just apply for their visa. For those students from the EU, however, they'll now be required to obtain a visa. So this is probably the biggest difference for Brexit right now. The good news, though, is that the new category of visa called the student visa gives students in the UK 2 years post-study work opportunities. So students can stay in the UK after they've completed their studies and work in the UK for 2 years. This has just changed within the last 12 months. And this is, I guess, a benefit that a lot of students are going to be able to take advantage of. So in some ways, Brexit, despite the challenges, is presenting some opportunities too. In terms of COVID, we're pretty optimistic that the vaccine rollout will be successful. We have to be, and that restrictions will be lifted and life will start to get back to normal in some way through the spring and the summer. Of course, this is, speculative, but that's how it appears to be going, and that's what we think is going to happen. So this means lockdown should be eased, travel will become easier, and nobody knows where we'll be in 6 months. So we don't want to be over optimistic in trying to predict what happens, but I sense that most UK universities right now are planning to be welcoming students to their campuses in September for a return to, in person and a physical program. That's how we see it at the moment.
Brexit has now been around for, well, it seems a lifetime, but it's actually about 5 years, I believe, that it's been around. So we've been very adept at, being asked questions about Brexit. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think, without a doubt, Brexit is bad PR for the UK in general. Therefore, it's bad PR for business schools. But in terms of actual tangible outcomes, is it going to really impact MBA students? That is very, very questionable, debatable. Because I mentioned about the 2-year post-study work visa the students will now have when they embark on an MBA program in the UK from 2021 onwards. Without Brexit, I don't think that new change would have been there. So theoretically, you could say it will have been tougher to secure a role in the UK in, let's say, 2014 or 2018, as opposed to what it will be in 2022. So there is potentially an opportunity there. But at the same time, I will still stand by my first sentence. It is bad PR. But can you turn that into a positive? And I believe we potentially can. In terms of the career outlook for those students who are joining in 2021, I look back at the past 10 years and think in the UK, we've had to recruit students to our full-time MBA programs where we have faced, I think, some of the strictest and stringent visa regulations during my career. And that's had, I think, a negative impact on UK business schools overall. Fortunately, at Manchester, I think we've dealt with it very well. That could be down for a number of reasons. We're a world-class business school, world-class MBA program. We've got a world-class careers team who have excellent corporate clients. So we were always in a position where about 50% of our students would stay in the UK after graduation anyway. But what we do recognise in terms of 2021 and beyond, and I think because of Brexit, it has meant that actually some of the visa regulations for students have been relaxed, and it means those students could come to the UK and work for a minimum of 2 years when they graduate. I think that's going to represent a fantastic opportunity for those students, without a doubt.
MBA students are dynamic, as are the career services teams that support them. At Imperial College Business School, our employer relations team has been gathering the latest market and industry updates while creating opportunities for our students to engage with, of course, recruiting companies. Meanwhile, our MBAs continue to receive support from their dedicated career consultants and are continuing to drive the broader careers curriculum forward to ensure it remains current and relevant. And again, students are able to take advantage of the graduate worker route if they have studied a full-time program here in the UK, regardless of whether they've had to participate remotely for a significant portion of their degree. And again, as long as they're physically in the UK by a set deadline. Lots of work is being done internally to ensure student learning outcomes and professional advancement goals are being met. And there's a lot of coordination happening between the institutions and the government, the Office of the Students here in the UK, and of course with student groups and unions to ensure that we are quickly offering alternative routes to the same expected outcomes. And of course, to ensure the best student experience under exceptional circumstances. That's something that's really important for us here at Imperial. Some of our usual recruitment activities, however, have had to be resigned, but we'll be commencing with these again, of course, when it's safe to do so. And lastly, I would also mention that the team at Imperial has stepped up the number and variety of online information sessions. And of course, we work very closely with Unibuddy to ensure candidates have the full support they need as they advance with their application, accept their offers, and complete their enrollment process as well.
We've had to contend with a lot of challenges on the ground in terms of what we can do in a classroom and then what we can't do in a classroom since we've been in the lockdown situation. So we've responded by having safe environments created for our MBA students. So before Christmas, when we were able to teach in person, we managed to run the program in the classroom. We had to respect the social distancing and we had to have all the necessary hygiene measures in place, but we managed to do this. At the same time, we actually streamed all of our teaching live so that those students who couldn't make it to the UK because of travel restrictions or even family care issues were still able to tune in, participate and continue with their MBA. So we feel we've done a lot to try and accommodate the situation. Since we've been since we've had to go remote, since the lockdown started, we've done all of our teaching remotely, online. And we've got a lot of experience doing this now because we had the carryover from last year when we did it the first time. So our faculty, the program team, were quite familiar with working in the online space. And whilst we will prefer to be in person, we feel confident that we can still deliver a good quality learning experience and program remotely if we need to do that.
In terms of, I think some of the biggest challenges international students are facing at the moment when applying to UK business schools is the reputation and popularity of some of the top MBA programs across the UK. There are many of us who are world-class institutions, therefore it's hugely competitive to gain a place. Just taking Manchester as an example, we were 48% up on our applications for 2020. I know some of my colleagues from other business schools were having similar application increases. So the competitive nature is something that people need to take into account. Although that is absolutely a challenge, I also think it's a fantastic opportunity for those who are offered a place to study at one of the top UK MBA programs.
I think if you had asked me this question back in April or even May of 2020, we were having some serious conversations about very different scenarios. And what we saw in practice was that applicants and candidates were pretty resilient. And because a lot of the students that study at Imperial College Business School tend to be MSc students, and because of the decision-making process of where to study, when to study, and going forward with that MSc program happens typically 12 to 24 months before students actually start their program. I think the candidate said, right, it's not an ideal situation. There's obviously a global pandemic happening, but I want to go forward with my study plans. And Imperial College Business School's got a pretty solid program delivery approach, which again, we call multimodal delivery. And so in practical terms, we actually saw more students than we expected to. Imperial's quite selective. And so, we had necessarily quite a big boost in applications this year. It was one of our record years from an applications perspective. So I guess positively encouraged, maybe even a bit surprised how resilient candidates were this year. But again, quality was quite good this year, and numbers were even a bit higher than we had expected.
The applications are pretty strong this year. We're seeing good number of applications, and we're seeing them quite nicely spread across different nationalities applying for the program. So at this moment in time, we feel that we are heading towards a really good cohort this year. Interviews are strong. Quality of applicants is probably stronger than it's been. So we're pretty happy at the moment with the way things are going in terms of recruitment and the students we can expect to see this year. I I think the main piece of advice I would give is, do your research. Make sure you know the institutions that you really want to go to, and talk to those people. Here at Bath, we're pretty open with our applicants. We have a lot of communication, a lot of contact, and we'll answer any questions around Brexit, around COVID. We have regular live web chats with our applicant pool, where anyone can come online and ask us a question about anything to do with the programme or what's happening in the UK. We also have information sessions which will be happening later on in the year. So again, we'll be presenting information about what's going on in the UK, what's going on at Bath, and hopefully keeping people informed. So I think if you're really keen to come to the UK, talk to the people who you want to work with, or where you want to study. Those people will know the most information, and it's best to get it off those people, because it's very easy to believe things you're reading in social media and online, which aren't always true. So it's better to speak to the people on the ground who can give you the best advice. We do think that things are going to clear up here in the UK. Obviously, most people are aware that it's been a difficult period. It still is, but it's starting to change, and we think we're going to be in a very good place by the time we get to September 2021. So I think the key thing is talk to people, make sure you get the information you need, and try and think about what the post-pandemic world is going to look like. What kind of things are you going to need in the new world, because it will be more virtual, it will be different. It won't be as much in person as we had previously. Habits and ways of working will have changed. So just think about that, and think about how your MBA maybe can help you with that. So again, we're doing a lot of work with students at Bath on the on kind of remote meetings with companies. We have a lot of guest speakers come into the program. Look at the MBA, ask the programs how they can help you in the post-pandemic world, and they will talk to you about this.